Hello and welcome to Westeros Gazette number 6. That's right, if you're listening to this and you're not a Game of Thrones watcher, turn away. Full spoilers ahead. Also, if you haven't watched episode number 6 of season 7 of Game of Thrones, this isn't for you. But we're going to talk about blue-eyed dragons. We're going to talk about steamy hot romances brewing between ice and fire. And we're going to talk about the Hound saving a ginger. All on today's Westeros Gazette.
Hold on to your butts.
Hold on to your butts. Everything's on right now. Oh, man, you are a kid in a candy store.
I think I want to kick it off today.
Oh.
I'm stealing it.
Do it. Do you know which episode?
Confident.
No.
Number 6.
It's the Westeros Gazette number 6.
Oh.
Thank you for joining.
Yeah.
No, so
I
I wanted to start it by talking about the feeling that I was left with after last night's episode. Did anyone else have trouble sleeping?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I had some serious anxiety last night.
I had night sweats. I had night sweats.
took some time to calm down after it.
Like,
for sure.
I had nightmares about zombie dragons.
We
And
were all
Spoilers.
Yeah, there are spoilers in this episode, but everybody should know that at this point. Yeah, I think we all were kind of depressed after what happened last night. I don't usually feel that way after television shows, particularly, but that dragon.
We were all watching it together, and right after it, we had like grilled out and just had like some food and stuff, and everyone was like cleaning, but no one was actually doing anything.
Pacing around
We
the
were all just
kitchen.
like nervously pacing and just like talking and like laughing really hard, and like I think Seth was like in the corner crying,
That
and
definitely
then like
was rocking in a corner.
I was
I was
upstairs,
eating
like,
some
just-
pudding, just kind of
we
crying
all
to myself.
stress ate some
Stress.
pudding. It was so weird.
Oh,
It was a
man.
weird night, but it was so tense. Oh my god. I don't know where to start though. Should we start by talking about
Yeah.
penises again?
No, the ladies are in the room this
Yeah,
time.
nope, not talking about penis.
Yeah.
Who's here?
Oh yeah, that's right. Thanks. You just want to host this one today.
Woo!
Pass the
You
mic
just
on
you just
over.
host this
Got
one
it.
today. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you and welcome to the Westeros Gazette, episode number 6, as the lovely Kendall has just informed all of our beautiful listeners like yourselves. Today on the show, I am joined by Seth and Beth, Team Beth Seth. Woo. As always, joined by Joe and Kendall, obviously, this time around. And we're here to break down episode number 6 of season 7 of Game of Thrones. Now, stop. If you're listening to this, you haven't listened to the previous shows, you're going to want to catch up first, because this is going to be a little out of left field if you're not aware of what's going on right now in the lead-up to the season finale of season 7. So there's a lot to talk about, a lot to break down today. Remember, before we do that you can subscribe to us on iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, however you listen to your podcast. But guys, share it with your friends. Share the joy of Game of Thrones with your friends. And remember that when you subscribe to this show, you get another show. You get 2 shows for the price of nothing. It's all free. And you get it just by subscribing to the Hold On To Your Butts podcast on your podcast listening service of choice. Did someone just knock at the door? Because everyone
Pretty sure
is in
Roscoe
this
wants
room.
in.
So that's
Yeah.
strange. Okay, so as always, I'm going to kick this over to Joe to get us started. The expert note taker, the scene master, the taker of notes, Mr. Joe.
There's like 7 more titles in there. Yeah, I want to start with the very, very beginning of the episode. And Kendall shouted this out last night when we were watching it. It was like, they never do this, but I watched it again today when they fly over the painted table and they fly over Eastwatch and they fly over Castle Black, and in the distance is the fire in the back of the background of the episode. And I was like, that's obviously some foreshadowing. So I thought that was pretty...
Yeah. Oh, that's really cool.
It was like a really artistic touch on a show that usually doesn't take those liberties. I don't know. They don't usually sit on something for a second.
And they're moving at such a breakneck pace right now that to every look that they linger on, every statement that they make, I feel like is done with such intent that everything has meaning. So I completely agree with you.
Yeah, and like it's so quick too that you don't get a great opportunity to read the table, but I caught this time around that happened. So they fly over, obviously, the very beginning, and then we get right to all the banter north of the wall. We see Tormund, Jon, Gendry, and let's break it down and just talk all about everything that happens in the North.
Before we get there, I want to back up real quick
Yeah.
because I have found my next project. Enjoy this table that we're sitting around here while it lasts, because I'm going to make a fucking painted table for this
Ooh,
room.
I dig it.
And like a replica painted table for this room.
Right.
Just eating some
I
bomb
made
ass
this
cheese
table.
plates.
This table you're looking at, guys. I made this table. This is a custom table that I built with love for the Hold On to Your Butts podcast.
Nice.
But yeah, so what I'm saying is I'm really cool.
Get
And
an
I'm
etcher.
handy, and I do neat things. And this is all about me.
Actually, I have an amendment. Why don't we start with Sansa and Arya and talk about their...
Get out of the way.
Because the other two tie together, and then obviously the ending is what we were...
Strategic.
yeah,
like it.
that sounds
Very,
great.
very strategic.
Yeah, so the very first thing we see with Arya and Sansa is Arya standing in Winterfell talking about how her father watched her shoot bow and arrows one after another on like a random happenstance where somebody left their bow in the yard and she was able to pick it up, and she wanted to shoot it so bad that she would shoot it at the target and then she'd walk all the way and grab it and then bring it back, and she finally hit the target and Ned's standing there clapping. There you go. Just like that. And then we get the conversation between her where she confronts Sansa to say, "You didn't stand up for our father. I can't believe you betrayed him. I would have never done that. I would have let them kill me."
Yes, Kendall.
I just really appreciated like that they in the like previously on they talked about where that note came from, because I had no idea.
Yeah.
Like I know that in the last episode, like Arya found that note that Littlefinger like purposely wanted her to find, but I had no idea like what that was from or like what that had anything to do with. So I really appreciate when they do like previously on, like they actually give you all of the information that you need for that scene. And so I really liked that.
Yeah, and you get to see that Varys and Littlefinger were there, which I didn't remember specifically. So they were both there when Cersei was telling her to write it.
And Littlefinger is the one that encourages Cersei to give Sansa one more chance to prove her fealty and her loyalty by writing a scroll and sending it right. And he, like, you see how he's set up so many pieces that, honestly, I some of it's got to be a little bit luck, because there's no way that he was that, right? I can't imagine that he was that intelligent to put all those pieces together. And throughout the scenes that you're seeing between Sansa and Arya in that playback, I'm just very fascinated by what his game is and by what he's doing to kind of tear apart Arya and Sansa, and I'm interested to see where all of this goes. I don't want him to be successful.
I agree. I want to talk a little bit more too about that scene that we mentioned with Sansa and Arya on that upper deck at Winterfell, where Arya is telling the story about shooting the arrow, and like shout out to Maisie Williams again. Like I felt like I was reading a book, that it was like the way that she was telling that story, it was so easy to like visualize, and all of a sudden you see Sean Bean up there again, you know,
Agreed.
when she starts clapping and stuff. And maybe part of it is because I think we talked about on the last episode, a listener pointed out that she's wearing essentially the same clothes as Ned Stark now, and her hair is done even in the same way as Ned Stark. I think Seth mentioned it. And so we're able to literally see that that's the role that she wants to start playing in Winterfell. Not like as a leader, that's not what she wants to do, but she wants to be, she even says it to Sansa this episode, I want to be a warrior like Pop, you know what I mean? And you never wanted to be that. You wanted to be the princess with the nice clothes and all of the nicest things. And so we finally get the like explosion that I think we've been working to for a few episodes. Like if you trace their relationship and their homecoming, for lack of a better term, can't think of a better word, but their re-meeting, if you will.
I think you're looking for reunion.
Reunion.
Ding.
Ding, 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 ding. Yes, the reunion. Like it started off on a very high note, sisters seeing each other again, but we've seen it just slowly slide, and they've been quietly judging each other, and then we finally get the explosion that is them confronting each other about their assumptions of each other. And I thought that whole scene was just so, like sort of a series best for the two actresses. Like I think they were put in I think in real life they're really good friends, and they like really like the scenes that they get to have together. And there's been so little and so few that you could tell they just really, really, really ate up the script for that scene. I really liked it a lot.
I completely agree. I've heard that the actresses are really, really close. As far as on screen and the sisters, I think it's fascinating what they're doing with these two characters, and like I said, I really hope that they're not successful in tearing them apart. I hope that Sansa, I think, has that quote in the trailer: "The pack survives while the lone wolf dies." And I hope that that is a place that they take this storyline. That's what I'm really pulling for. I know that I think it's kind of dividing even the viewers into two camps between Team Sansa and Team Arya, right? And I think for my part, even watching their character development from kids where they were kind of bratty and snotty and hated each other and really didn't understand where the other came from, to now, and you're seeing, and for a minute there was this brief, understanding of we've been on such a long journey and we don't know where we've been, and now we're back together stronger, and now all of a sudden they're kind of dissolving in front of our eyes. And I hope that they can rise above that and find the common, that they're both trying to fight for the better side, right? And
it was,
and I don't know, go ahead.
It was really interesting to see Sansa then turn the table and pull herself up and say, well, you should be thanking me that you're here because Jon Snow didn't win the Battle of the Bastards. I brought the Lords of the Vale and saved him, and otherwise Winterfell wouldn't exist at the moment.
Well, and she makes an amazing point. You couldn't have survived what I survived. Yeah. And I completely subscribe to that newsletter.
I think both of them have a very tough path that they followed. Don't get me wrong. I think yes, you can make the argument that one of them had it harder than the other. But I agree with what Joe said. Like, you see Arya as kind of this like scary figure all of a sudden, and then Sansa's she, like you said, pulls herself back up, and she kind of throws it back at Arya, and you can actually see it in her face. She's like, oh, maybe, oh. And she kind of like questions it for a second, and then there's this like little point, and Arya pulls the scroll out, and instead of answering Sansa when she says, like, where did you get that? She's like, you're afraid. And it's like, how about you just say where you got it? Because then we can start to, get to the point that Littlefinger planted this and get to it. And I'm like, I know that's as we call them, TV moment. Like, I know that's what it is, but I was just like, can you guys just, make up real quick? Like, be sisters. Like, let's see what happens.
So to that, I can't stand Arya's character.
Yes.
I can't stand her. I didn't like her the entire time she was going through the whole training to be the man of many faces or the faceless, whatever it was. It was so boring, and I was like, okay. And Brogan and I talked about it. Maybe they're really building her up to be something awesome. And then the first opening scene of this season, she went and killed Fry. What was his name?
Yeah, Walder
Frey.
Walder Frey. Right? Awesome. I was like, okay, maybe this is actually all paying off. And now she's back, and I'm just like, I hate her.
I think the Brienne scene was pretty damn awesome too. She's got her moments without question, but she shows time and time again. And I think this episode was another time for me where I just don't think she's got her mind wrapped around reality. You need your friends, you need your family, and you have to be smart. You can't just go around with a dagger and rip people to shreds whenever you feel like it. You have to support your family and be with Sansa's your family, right? And she's doing the best she can with what she's been given.
So I totally disagree at this point, and here's why. I was with Kendall all the way on. I hated Arya's storyline. Just personally did not like it during season 5 and a bit of 6, but her whole training for the Faceless Men just felt like they didn't know what else to do with her. They know where they wanted her to be and the skill set that they wanted her to have, maybe, or how dangerous they wanted her to become, but they didn't know how to get her there. And I feel like there was a lot of stumbling to get her there. And so I didn't appreciate those seasons, but I love the weapon that Arya has become, and I like what she's introducing into Winterfell, and I like what she's introducing into the Starks. I find the tension that she's injecting far more interesting than the tension that was Jon versus Sansa. I think this sister versus sister and this how there's such a dichotomy between the two of them and how different they are as a noble lady and a little warrior.
Yeah.
And I think we see this amazing moment, and I don't know if we're jumping ahead too much or not, but we see this amazing moment when Sansa finds the bag of faces.
Yeah.
This just bag of
pulls them right out of the
faces
satchel
or whatever. Yeah. And how are they so well preserved?
Yeah.
That's fine. Well, that's another question.
It's whatever she does to them.
So
it's part of the Faceless Man.
So all of a sudden, Arya just appears right behind her, and like just in that moment alone, like coupling with finding a bag of faces under your sister's bed, and then the fact that she just silently appears behind you, like she's fully aware now, having seen her spar with Brienne and then have this moment with her, that this is a